All right, we are live. Everybody, just right off the bat, as per the usual, if there's any kind of audio issues, just let us know in chat. We'll get it sorted. But other than that, joining me today on this live is the one and only, the humble Marksman, who, in my opinion, needs no introduction. But why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know?
I make cringy interviews or videos on the internet about guns.
Perfect.
And that's
So,
that's all there is to know.
AKA, we're the same person.
Basically, yeah. If you squint real hard, we become the same person.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like a 70-30 split as to whether or not Redditors will like us or hate us.
Reddit is an interesting place. Like it's the worst. It's really, when I say interesting, that's what I mean. It's not good.
Yeah, like there's information to be found there, but man, once you got to sift through it.
Yeah, that is true. Well, it depends because like there's no validation to anybody's data source, but everybody's an expert. It's kind of like YouTube comments where it's just like you can do some really impressive shooting in a YouTube video and dudes will still crap on you in the comments. Like, I felt pretty good about that. Like, I shot like a 2.5-inch group offhand at 25 yards. Like, awesome. It's like, you still need to go get a rest. That doesn't count. Like, it's a 2.5-inch group at 25 yards. Like, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's it's just one of those things where it's like, how much do people actually shoot and how conscious are they to the reality in front of them of what's happening? But that's the main reason I did that tier 1 concealed 3.7s drill, was because people were crapping on me, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do something that I don't think anybody in the comment section can do, and then put it like at the front of my channel, and then that shut people up.
That's a good one. Yeah. My issue is like, I had to move I started the channel back in the day because like in 2014-15, there was no place to house large file storage. Like you had to pay for like the file storage sites. So YouTube would take all your videos for free. So everybody in kind of the competitive shooting world all started putting their competitive shooting videos on YouTube. So like when I started the channel, it was like, it's not like I picked this name because it's just like, this is an awesome brand name and I'm going to have a channel. It was an inside joke from my buddies because, I mean, humble's not a very good word to describe me. Like I'm pretty like, because we shoot a lot of standards and stuff like that. So I kind of know where I fall in the food chain. So that was kind of funny. And like we were shooting IDPA and you know, beginning to shoot USPSA at the time. And Marksman was the lowest classification in IDPA at the time. They didn't have novice yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is pretty funny. So like that became the channel name because I mean, I was competing as like a high expert in IDPA and was like a B class in USPSA. So it's funny to me. And then like Nut and Fancy and all those guys started reviewing guns like the Canik TP9 SFX back in the day, like the first, 5 1/4 gun that Canik had like a slide racker and a optics cut from the factory that was reachable. It was, $450 or whatever at the time.
Yep.
And like, this is great for competition. This slide racker is great. It's like, that just got my inner pedant going because at the time there really wasn't a division that gun would be competitive. And they're like, it's great for competition. And it didn't fit in. Like at the time, carry optics wasn't a division. Like if you had it on your gun, you were shooting open, that's not a very good gun to shoot open with. And in IDPA, there wasn't even an option to fit it in. Like it just wasn't a gun that you could use. And, so I started making really crappy cell phone videos and just being a sleepy new dad talking about like, this is a competition gun and I like CZs and all this stuff. And it just kind of, inched into actually being a channel where I produce, content. And, here we are today. So at some point I had to spin off all that to say the competition videos. I started getting crapped on in my own channel's competitive shooting videos. Like, you're just flexing. You're just like, and I was like, what? So I fired up my B channel, the Arrogant Marksman. So that's where my competition videos now live because I do think it's important to show people that like shooting sports are a thing and you can do the thing. And like now the aesthetic, like it got real bad in the kind of the late 2010s where everybody had like a jersey and all this stuff. And so like I make it a point not to wear any of that, like, unapproachable stuff. And just like, this is a thing you can go and do and you should do because it's awesome. So you got a super chat requesting dad.
Here we go. Go ahead and hit Dave with a
Mm.
bad dad joke.
Well, it's in my next video, so this is, you'll get a preview. Brett, have you ever considered how much a rainbow weighs?
No.
Not much. They're pretty light.
Solid. You heard it here first, everyone. This is a Nightwood Guns exclusive.
There we go. Yeah.
Speaking of comments, just to fly through a few of them, see what people are saying. Got both my fave gun tubers on together. Very much looking forward to watching. So yeah, I'll see you in the replay, gang. Why does Nightwood's arm look so jacked in the thumbnail? That shooting grip strength. It's the sleeper build.
Trin.
Exactly. David is the gun tube review man with a capital M. That's how you know it's good. We got Gun Talk with Big Dad Energy. There's a lot of BDE stuff in here. So people showing their love.
I need to bring it back a little bit. It turns people off, but it's fun at the same time. So it's just like,
I don't know. I like it. The duo that defeated the Staccato HD. Yeah, well, not even really trying to, just kind of telling it like it is. It's not even.
You want to hold it in my hand, but we can't because
I know. I wish we could. I'm surrounded by guns. I just want to start picking stuff up. But
yeah, I've got my safes are like within arm's reach. I can have anything.
But the Staccato HD, it's not even a bad gun. It's just in comparison to everything else in that category, just kind of leaves something to be desired.
It is a very specific use case. Like, it's awesome for its use case, but so's a Glock.
Yeah.
And like, if you can't be bothered to learn how to shoot a Glock, then the HD is there for you. And if you just hate money, I guess the HD is there for you.
Yeah, and like the one thing would be if you hate the Glock grip angle, which I mean, I get if you're used to shooting every other grip angle on the planet, it usually takes a few reps to get used to the Glock one again, especially running a dot. But have you messed around at all with noise fighters or chiral defense?
Yes, I was waiting for you to finish speaking so I could say, hey, have you looked at the new chiral defense Glock backstrap adapter thing?
Yeah, I just got mine in today. I haven't mounted it yet, but
I had it in my video last weekend because I was going to do a Fusion XP Pro versus Staccato HD versus Platypus video. And unfortunately, my Fusion XP Pro had an issue, so it kind of was out of circulation. So I put the Glock 17 I've got in there with that chiral defense. That's KIRAL for people who aren't hearing what I'm saying. And it absolutely makes the dot, like, I don't have to adapt my technique any. It's just right there in the window. So for the full framed Glock guns, I'm going to put those on all my full size Glocks because I don't want to remember what a Glock grip angle is.
Yeah, and it's not even a huge deal switching between the two, but like if you're running thousands of rounds through 2011s or M&Ps or whatever, and then you go back to a Glock, whoa, wait a second, that's not where I want it to be from the holster. So it just that solves that completely.
Yeah, it's great. I don't know how much it actually reduces felt recoil. In fact, that probably doesn't, but it does fix the grip angle quite nicely, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. So those are all the things you like to look for in a good product.
Yeah, my concern was comfort, but the thing is, it feels nice. It doesn't feel obtrusive.
It actually makes it sit in the web of my hand a little bit nicer. It probably raises the bore axis slightly, but at the same time, it's still a low bore axis gun with the thing there, so it's fine.
Yep. Just shot the Platypus with a 2.5 pound trigger. This firearm is amazing. Thanks for the reviews, gentlemen. Only one question now. Monsoon Tactical. I mean, poured it like crazy. But yeah, the Platypus still, for what it is, for the own little niche that it's found, is great.
I think porting it makes a lot of sense because it's an aluminum frame gun, and aluminum frame guns will jump a lot more. Like, regardless of how good your grip is, like, the whole gun wants to lift and recoil, and porting takes a lot of that energy off the gun. So aluminum guns do great with comps and ports simply because they're more prone to jumping. So go for it.
You just can't handle a 9mm. That's why you're saying
it's probably my soft computer hands.
Exactly. And then we got B, D, E on the way. Lots of BDE here. Have you messed around at all with how much time have you spent with the Jacob Gray?
So the black, quite a bit. I've never messed with the hex because they're $4,000 and I don't happen to have $4,000 to put on a gun right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, the black actually shoots really like I actually like the way the black shoots for an aluminum frame gun. I generally don't like aluminum frame guns, but that one is kind of an exception. It still jumps more than like my steel frame Staccato P, but not a lot more. And it's a lot lighter to carry. Like it's only, I guess, 4 ounces lighter, but that's an important 4 ounces. So I'm on board with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm hoping that I can get my hands on a hex because I really like that grip texture. You know, it's coming ported now, which is really nice. But the thing that surprised me about the Jacob Gray was just its mechanical accuracy.
Oh yeah.
That thing is just absolutely insane. Like it is the tack driver of tack drivers, both benched and freehand. That thing, even with kind of like crap ammo, it groups really
I was
tight.
impressed with it as well. And the trigger, so it uses a machine trigger bow, which is what's in like a Red Dirt trigger or the Atlas trigger or the Masterpiece Arms triggers, which is like a competition shooting type thing. And it takes kind of the little sproing out of the trigger bow. So when you get on the wall, like you are 100%, like the next little bit of power is going to make it go. So it's a lot easier to be precise with because you don't realize how much that deflection allows you to kind of offset your aim as you're pulling. So it's a good gun.
What a nerd.
Yep. Wear the hat.
Yeah, lots of people saying, you know, like that we're a hell of a combo. We got two Titans here. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that. What are the chances we can get a local group tac comp buy going?
I mean, we can always ask Ben, like, hey, there's a bunch of dudes here who want to buy tac comps. Can we make it happen? I don't know. They're pretty tough, as you're probably well acquainted, to get into the country. And they don't like the reason why is during COVID, they had a ton of outstanding orders, and then the Israeli government basically shut down their production and damn near bankrupted the company. And so now they don't like to do back orders specifically for that reason, because it was just, they burned a lot of goodwill from a lot of people who had money, you know, out there. So I doubt we'll get them to change their policy while the wounds are still so fresh. Cause I mean, that was only a couple of years ago.
You guys just need a tac comp timeshare. I think that's what you need.
That gun's incredible for sub $3,000. It's putting out like a full tilt open gun with a slide ride optic, which is
I haven't shot it yet, but
I haven't either.
I'm looking forward to it because I think it was at GunCon last year and I wasn't there, so I didn't get to shoot it.
Yeah, I didn't go to GunCon.
Anyone heard a release date for the Bul Armory EDC with the compact grip? It's sometime in Q2, as last time I checked. But that's obviously like that's what I'm carrying. I just did the grip swap myself, and I think that's going to be a big seller.
See, I don't have an EDC right now. I'm actually like on my hip right here is the ultralight, simply because I like that grip size better. I don't like a 3 1/4 inch barrel, but I'm using a 4 1/4 holster. So
yeah, even back before double stack 1911s, standard 1911s, the CCO configuration was always my favorite. I like the officer size grip with the commander length barrel. That was always a sweet spot. So this is kind of bringing that reality home.
The Daniel Defense H9 is that same size, and it's brilliant to carry. That gun, like it never got a fair shake, but it's a really nice carry gun.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there. It's a little refinement, and that thing could have gone a long way.
They've got an upgrade package now. If you request, they'll send you a label and they'll change your barrel out. They'll redo your back strap and upgrade your trigger for you for free of cost, send it back to you, which is pretty awesome. The new ones are better than the old ones. I am going to send mine in just to see how much nicer it is. Like I handled them at shot and like they feel nicer. So both how they fit in hand and the triggers. So
speaking of shot, when you were at shot, you shot the Staccato HDs, right?
I missed range day this year.
Okay.
I only ccame in the middle of the week.
Yeah. So based on talking to other people and based on the HDs that I shot at Prairie Fire, which was awful. You missed getting your face completely wind burned. But
that's why I missed range day, because it was cold and rainy last year. I was like, you know what? I don't need to do this.
Yeah, it's not worth it. So talking to people, it seems like the triggers on the Staccato HDs are really inconsistent. So like the take up on mine is super series 80, like really mushy, kind of heavy. The take up is heavier than the break itself. How was the trigger on yours?
Mine was very similar to what I experienced at shot. I mean, I watched your video on that, and it doesn't surprise me that a more mechanically complex trigger has greater variation in, it's a lot easier to just do a Series 70 trigger than try and make all the Series 80 ones be the same.
Yeah.
So mine was very similar. It wasn't quite as good as the SHOT Show triggers. I have no doubt those were cherry picked because their triggers were awesome.
Yep.
But at the same time, my trigger's not bad. It's like when you do extreme slow fire stuff, you can kind of feel the firing pin block lift. But if you're shooting fast, you don't even notice it.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm curious about is with the 4.5, it didn't happen with me and I didn't see it, but there were rumors that those were choking a little bit at Prairie Fire. So I'm curious to see that. Someone said that they saw it choke in Gatman's hands. So I don't know. So, I mean, like someone who knows how to shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, there might be a reason that they didn't release them too close together. Maybe there's a little more work to do on that, but.
Well, did you see that Tulsi Gabbard inadvertently leaked the HDXC?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's
I was on her Instagram account for totally not nefarious reasons at all, swiping through every single picture and liking every picture that she's ever had. And then when I saw that, I was like, what is this?
You're over there gooning to
exactly. I was just chilling in the goon cave and just got surprised by the HDXC.
Yeah, so if you really want an XC, maybe don't get the 4.5. Wait for the XC because it's coming.
Exactly. That one looked a little crude, but we'll see. All right, we have Zombies in here requesting the laser eye effect throughout the entire live stream. I think that is mandatory.
Yeah, well, I need Final Cut Pro to make the laser eyes work. I'm sorry.
Let's see here. We got an issue here. Recently purchased a Radian Ramjet for my 19 Gen 5, and I'm having chambering issues. I just switched a spring to 15 and haven't had the chance to shoot it. Any advice? The 15 will probably sort it out. We got Big Johnson saying, "What's up, Humbles?"
There's BJJ.
Good dude. Tell Humble Marksman he has to name his 3 favorite anime series, and one of them has to be Black Lagoon.
I can tell you what my kids watched because literally right before this show, my middle child was watching an episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So we watched, we watched one episode of that before the show. So I don't know that I have watched enough to say that I have favorites, but I watched both Full Metal Alchemists with my 14-year-old, and those were pretty cool.
Honestly, like if you were going with Full Metal Alchemist, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and then just defaulted to Black Lagoon, that would be like an S tier top 3. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Well, we have been like the 14-year-old, and before he got on his JoJo kick, we watched Vinland Saga.
Oh yeah,
and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, Vinland Saga is really cool, but JoJo is like all-time best. That's one of my all-time faves.
I don't see the appeal personally, but they like it. So
you just got to stick. You got to start with episode 1 and go all the way through every single part, and then you'll like. This is something that I talked to Dana Lash about. I was checking on her at SHOT Show because her kids and she loves JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. She even dressed up as a character for Halloween.
Oh wow!
so like the Lash family is all about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Nice.
As a moderately, barely competitive shooter, I appreciate your lack of jersey wearing, keeping it real.
Yeah, buddy. Well, so it's the other thing that I do is when I shoot IDPA, like I'll go out of my way if I'm wearing the vest to try and look like Walter Sobchak from The Big Lebowski, because people say I look like him anyway, so might as well lean into it.
Market 0.
That's right. This is not Nom. There are rules.
Over the line.
That's right.
Are you going to do any Revolver content?
Honestly, I have done one video on a Revolver, and I probably will do another. I shot the Kimber K6 at whatever the last thing I shot guns at was, and that seemed like a really nice gun. And my buddy who makes holsters says the Kimber K6 is a really good gun. So just because I like revolvers, I just never have bothered leading it. And the Chiappa Rhino, I shot a Chiappa Rhino, and that thing was. I need to get one of those.
I feel like it just needs to make a different noise. It needs to be like, it needs to sound like the Blade Runner gun when you shoot it.
It's like a good companion to a Desert Eagle as far as like the best meme tier guns.
Exactly. We got Agent Michael Scorn here. Love both your channels. Thank you, David, for getting me into USPSA last year with all your videos. Hope I run into you at the Space City this year. A humble B-class pediatrician.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, I'll be at Space City. Me and Charlie Perez are shooting on Friday, so swing by on Friday. We'll be out there.
Yeah, no, Agent Michael Scorn is a real one. He hops in all the time, and he's a super good dude. So thanks for the super chat, man. Glad to see you here. Glad you could make it.
Or is it Space? No, it's I guess. Sorry, that's the wrong match. It's Texas State Open. I think is the one in May. That's the one me and Charlie are shooting together, or April, whichever one that is.
Should you running the Deagle?
No. I'll probably I had a bit of an identity crisis on what I wanted to compete with this year because I got my open gun broke on me at the two most important matches of the year last year, and I didn't have it in me to go shoot an open gun, so I'll probably just shoot limited optics all year with the open gun appearing in a couple matches.
Well, that'll teach you to run the Taurus curve.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Now I'm gonna shoot the Bul Armory Air, and if I can get my hands on a Blaze, I'll probably shoot that just because Bul Armory guns just work.
Yeah, no, they're my favorite. I feel like I've been looking for the perfect gun for me my whole life, just constantly bouncing between stuff. And then I thought I found it with the Staccato, and there were, a couple things that were kind of okay on it for me. And then once I got my first Bull, I was like, all right, I'm home now. This is the one.
They've got better grips on the Bull, and they're making the tool steel internals this year. So the only thing that basically is holding it back from being the same as a Staccato is the DLC coating, which they can't apply in Israel. So that's why they don't have it.
Yeah.
But even that's not that big a deal. And I may or may not have strong-armed Ben into selling me one of those stainless Tac Pros when those come in, because that is a gorgeous gun.
That's my number one most anticipated gun is just all the stainless variants. I just want one of every single one of them.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get the Commander Tac Pro. I'm gonna buy that. It's gonna be awesome.
That's 100% the one to get. I'm really hoping I can get my hands on one because that is just the best. I was gonna say something I forgot though. Probably wasn't important at all then.
Oh, but on the Staccato subject, I will say their customer service is hands down the best by a wide margin of it. Like, I've done warranty work with probably a half dozen companies now, and Staccato puts them all to shame. Like, if you want to feel like you bought a $2,500 gun, if it ever goes down, just call those, or you don't even call them. You just put in the web RMA stuff. They'll call you within about 2 hours.
The head gunsmith will call you. Yeah, but we're on the same wavelength. That's what I was going to say that I forgot. I was going to be like, yeah, the only other thing is Staccato's, basically platinum S tier warranty service and lifetime warranty, no less.
Yeah, no, those guys are incredible. I really like my XC. It's still one of my favorite guns. And my Staccato P is honestly, I need to swap the grip. I have my old XC. I wish I could show it on stream, but I can't. I put one of the Phoenix Trinity Hero grips, but it was anodized by the Vital engineering guys, so it's the villain grip, and it looks like it's burned or case hardening or something like that. It's gorgeous, but the grip off my old XC I need to put on my P, and then I'll be a happy camper.
Solid. And then where can I get the Chiral whatever thing? Yeah, just find the Noise Fighters site, and that will steer you in the right direction. Just like Croak said, because he's a bro. And then Roaring Steel just wants to let you know, don't quit the dad jokes.
Dad jokes are how I roll. I see what you did there, sir. Hat tip to you for that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, tip the fedora to that one.
That's right.
Stop the gimmicks, just thicken the web of your hand, bro. That would require stopping the use of lotion. Right, just the human callus gloves. Would love if you guys set up the same courses of fire, use the same gun, and had a virtual competition using hit factor scoring. I just need to get a meta quest. That's what I need to get.
Oh, yeah, get one.
Yeah, well,
I could go get my MetaQuest stuff. We should do that. If you get one, we can host you can host little matches and lobbies and stuff like that. We could absolutely do that.
Yeah, no, that'd be super fun. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get one of those one of these days. I just want to play Resident Evil 4 virtual reality.
I heard that's incredible. There's a bunch of guns my kids will play on the meta, and there's AIM XR, and they're really into that right now. Population 1 was another PUBG style game, but you actually have to do gun manipulations. When you reload the gun, you have to actually seat the mag, and then if it's a side charger, you have to rack it on the side. If it's an M4, you have to pull it from the back. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I on a friend's I played Resident Evil 4, and it's you grab the knife You just swipe at
Yeah.
people and you put it back, and you have to pump the shotgun and load the shotgun. It's cool stuff.
It makes it's very immersive. It's cool.
Yep. Let's see here. There was another one. Where is it? Right here. Enclosed optic versus not. Specifically trying to decide between the 508T and an ARM. Well, I probably would skip the RMR2 and go with like any other open emitter. Yeah.
RMR HD.
If you're stuck on Trigicon, go with the HD. But like, I don't know how you feel about this. For me, it's just like, do you have like pocket lint problems on your optic? Because the enclosed optic, that's going to be the biggest use case for most dudes.
Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on that. The other side is shooting in the rain. Like I've shot matches in the rain, and if a drop of water gets on your emitter and on the back of your glass, you are hosed. Like you just have a million little points of light, and you're just like, well,
see where it goes.
Take the wheel.
Yeah. So if you live in a rainy place, and you think that you might get into a gunfight in a rainy place, definitely that. But so you really can't go wrong either way. Like I just like the 507 comp. I carry it on everything, and I don't mind the pocket lint. I just blow it out with compressed air.
Dude, I actually have some crow to eat on the 507 comp.
Oh, let's hear it. What's up?
I recorded a podcast, and I was going to release it, and I forgot to. But I already recorded it. So I shot a match this past weekend, and this is probably the third or fourth match where I've used a 20 MOA circle dot. The 32 MOA is useless. Like it's way too big. Its best use case is a training wheels optic, but what I found is that the 20 MOA circle is insanely practical for speed shooting out to about 15 yards because you have this giant, like, hey, dummy, you're off the target ring, and you can just use the 20 MOA dot. Like one of the stages was 15-yard, like partial targets with like hardcover slashes. And like, it's like, okay, is the bottom right corner touching the black stuff like it's supposed to? Because then that means I'm good. It was just a much grosser aiming solution, and it was much faster. But when you're shooting like precisely, you can use the little dot. I hate 2 MOA dots by themselves. They're way too fine and twitchy. But that 2 and 20 combo is actually pretty strong. So you do need to make sure you witness mark your screw on the 507 comp because it will yeet itself and your battery tray will go with it. So you need to stay on top of that little screw because I've seen several guys all of a sudden lose their battery trays as a result of not either Loctiting it or witness marking it. So fair warning.
Yeah, that's great advice. I witness mark everything. I basically paint the entire optic with like a red paint pen.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think that's always a safe bet. I want to do a lightning round with you to see, just get your like initial opinion on the big striker guns.
Okay.
And just how you feel about it, because I just kind of like a nice little conclusive lightning round. So number one, Glock.
Stupid reliable, but stupid underfeatured as well.
Agreed. M&P
could have been great.
Expand on that a little bit.
The build quality from the Smiths on all the guns I've bought from them in the past few years have all had something weird with them. Like the front sight in the dovetail cut isn't centered. The magazines are assembled wrong. My issue with the metal carry comp was that on the metal framed guns, when you pull the trigger, it puts upward pressure on the slide stop. And if the tolerance stacking is bad, which they were on many of the guns apparently, then, as the gun fires, it will lock the slide open. So like that gun made it out of the factory as a bolt action gun. Like there's no excuse for that other than the guy who was test firing it at the factory has a bad grip and was riding the slide stop, which is possible. But at the same time, I've toured some of these firearm manufacturers' factories, and like if they have rigorous testing protocols, that kind of stuff wouldn't come up because they'd be firing from fixtures. And it's a great design. It's, mid execution. And then their product development, like the new M&P steel, it's a 5-inch gun with a 1-inch compensator on it that's not legal in any real division. It's like, yes, we wanted a steel frame M&P. No, we don't want this stupid compensator on the front of it. It's a hog leg at this point. Like, and it's not even like a proprietary threading that's like low profile. It's like the old school threading that makes it sit like way out there. And it just looks like it's a stupid afterthought slapped on the gun. And
I just don't think you understand the blue accents on the gun. I think that's your
you're right. I was not using my color vision when I thought about that. You're right.
Yeah, because to me, that's like back. That makes it best in class alone.
Easily. Yeah. Blue.
P320.
P320. Question mark.
It's kind of a question mark. I think that's it's great unless it's not.
Yeah. Like the uncommanded firings, I'm reasonably certain most of the ones they're getting sued for are handling errors. Like almost always there's some weird jostling things. And I've talked to some industry pros and some ex-SIG guys who have absolutely no allegiance to SIG. I'm like, all right, dude, give me the T. Is it the gun or is it the people? And like, I'd love to tell you it was the gun, but like in every instance, there's some really fishy stuff. So like they wouldn't even throw SIG on the bus after they left.
Yeah.
So, but the guns blowing up is a different issue, and that one is a real problem. And it goes away like gray guns. I'm actually going to do a video on gray guns upper. Like they make really like it's actually a gunsmith fit upper that's DLC coded. Both the barrel and the slide are serialized. It's not just a slap together, off the press thing, but the guns are actually fit together by hand to be as good as they can be. And I know a couple guys who had run extremely high round counts through that, and they had bad barrels on the P320, but you make 4 million guns, which there are over 4 million 320s, you're going to get a lot of them that aren't good. And there were a lot of them that weren't good. So there's a lot of them that work though.
Yeah.
And
that's
some that apparently go off and some that explode. So
yeah. And it's like the some that go off is like, you're looking at other manufacturers that also have LE contracts, and you're like, those aren't really going off in the same way that the SIGs are, which like to me that is a question mark. I think that the handling ones and non-handling ones kind of muddy the water, and I think that is probably working in SIG's favor a little bit.
Yeah.
But just overall, I don't know, consistency is weird because I got at least half of my haters when I talked about rusting on an X macro, and it's just a fact that sometimes you'll get a 320 or 365 that is just a rust bucket, whether that's the steel that they source or the finish that they did. It's just, for whatever reason, it will rust. I've seen them rusted in the case at Shields. I even took a picture of one with a completely rusted trigger in the case, brand new out of the box. So it's just stuff like that SIG products are like a question mark. It's like you're good unless you're not. That's kind of how I feel about it.
I've got a lot of SIG guns, and none of them have rusted. My original macro was like one of the pre-release ones, and it didn't rust. I do have some of their magazines when they switched over from using MechGar to making their own mags that don't have a very good coating on them, and if I lived in a wetter climate, probably would rust. But, I live in a moderate humid climate, and they haven't rusted. But
that was the weird thing for me. That was the weird thing for me. I'm in Arizona.
Yeah, it shouldn't rust.
I've only had one gun rust on me ever, and it was a Remington 870 when Freedom Group acquired them. That thing rusted to my safe. And then the X Macro rusted. Now, here's the problem that I have. It seems like it's a rare issue with the rusting. I get comments of people saying that it's happening to theirs. The problem that I have is SIG won't warranty it. They say, and I quote, it's normal. And it's like I have a 365 and an XL, and I carry that XL for 2 years, hiking, exercising, sweating all over it, and it never rusted. Yeah. And this one's rusting, and they're like, no, that's normal. Like,
that's silly.
It is silly. They should if they would have warrantied it, I wouldn't have made as big of a deal over it.
It's funny. I have 365 slides sitting on my desk right here. I won't hold them up, but I've got a macro slide, and then the XL slide, and what is this one? It's got the Parker Mountain Machine comp on it. So, yeah.
Have you messed around? Did you mess around with the Radian Ramjet Afterburner?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because that thing is...
Fun tip. I learned this because my Radian Ramjet video was taken down because I displayed a target that I got from Optics Planet that has the Optics Planet website on it. And like 2 months after the video went up, the machine watches the video and then pulls it down, and they don't tell you what's wrong with it. So Mr. Guns and Gear, him and I were talking on X, and he's like, do you have a point of contact? I was like, no. He's like, I'll get mine on and see what he can tell you. And so his point of contact was able to look and see what it was. And I've had 2 videos taken down. One was for the 380 Bodyguard 2.0. And the other one was that one. And it was those same targets that I was using. So do not put pictures. And I've warned USPSA, my buddy Alex's Area 4 director, is like, hey, at Nationals, none of the banners can have website addresses on them. 0. Like, why
Yeah.
is that? And I told him what I just said. He was like, that's stupid. And I was like, yes, it is, but it's also YouTube, and that's what we get. So
That's insane. Yeah, because a lot of the time it's just guess and check, trying to figure out what they don't
yeah,
like and what they do like. Did you see US Airsoft's video on the censorship on YouTube?
no, but
Okay,
I'm gonna go find it.
yeah, for sure. Go check it. And everyone who's here, go find US Airsoft. He actually got anonymous contacts, one of which works for the company that Google contracts to do manual reviewing for videos. And that dude spills the tea about everything that they look for. And it's good information to have, that's for sure. And basically confirms all the suspicions that we had and shines light on stuff that I hadn't even thought of. So that video is
I mean,
out.
let me test this. I haven't seen the video, but what I've observed it being in this racket for seriously for about 6 years now, is it feels like you get bucketed as a creator, and they
Mhm.
will expose your content. Like, I can remember working way harder on videos, and just like there's like a soft cap of what you'll
100%.
end up getting exposed to, and like what like it's weird, month on month I'm getting almost the exact same number of subscribers. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what I check. I can publish twice as many videos, which theoretically should lead to twice as more, but it doesn't. You
Yeah.
just get flatlined.
Oh yeah, basically my videos will get stuck at, like, if I have a good performing video, a strong video, it'll get stuck at like 40,000 views and
Yeah,
it just dies right there. And
I
then
think we're in the same bucket. I think
yeah,
we
and
are
then
in the same
maybe,
bucket.
like, if we get lucky and for whatever reason it's a slam dunk, like I did a Revolver video that just for whatever reason, maybe it's because it was Revolvers and not semi-autos, took off, and that thing's at, over 300,000 views now. But it takes a video like that to push past that,
Yeah,
like, cap that they put on it.
that's the way it feels, because I for a while I was doing like 5,000 subs a month, and then it was just like pew, back down to 2, and like I'm kind of stuck at like 2 to 3 right now.
That's yeah, I'm
And
right around 2 to 3. So,
like it's been like I did probably 50 videos in January because I went to SHOT Show, and it's like, does that lead to more? No, it doesn't really. It
oh yeah,
got a lot more views, but
meanwhile, I did 2 videos from SHOT Show and got the same amount of subscribers, and it's just like, "Oh my god."
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. All right, Mario. So I love both of y'all's channels. What are y'all's thoughts on the SAR 9C and the Siley Cat Pro Red Dot? You familiar with
I think the
those?
Siley dots are pretty solid. They don't have the best glass, and they don't have the best emitters, meaning that if you're shooting into the sun, you will see reflection off the emitter window onto the glass, and the glass is not very clear, as in like it distorts a lot, kind of like an SRO or RMR. But they're robust. They'll work as long as you want them to.
Yeah. The Sileys are solid. I wouldn't use it on a defensive pistol, but if you just want a dot on a pistol to run, I mean, obviously I would run it before I'd run an Amazon dot on a defensive
Yeah.
pistol.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure.
Easily.
What about the SAR 9? You familiar with that?
I'm familiar with them. I haven't actually shot any of them. They're just like, they're not that much requested by my audience, so like I don't. They were working with Leviathan, so they wouldn't send out like demo guns unless you were also Leviathan. Like, well, I'm not Leviathan, so I guess I want to shoot your guns in because I'm not that into them. But in hand, they kind of remind me of a VP9. And I shot with that police sergeant that's in all their content talking about how awesome the SAR guns are.
Right.
I shot a match with him, and he was telling me about them and stuff like that. And I mean, he's a believer in them. And I mean, we spent all day together, so it's not like he was BSing me for, 8 hours we spent together.
Right.
So, I mean, I have reason to believe that they're solid guns and they'll perform. I mean, if you think about Canics, they perform, made by, similar craftsmanship on probably similar machining, I'd imagine. And now Tony Pignato's over there, and you saw what he did in repositioning Staccato. So I would expect big things for SAR in the years to come.
Yeah, SAR, kind of like same boat as Canic. I think it's going to be good if you're running what I would consider to be lower round counts. It's once you get to the higher round counts that it's a little bit of a question mark, which is why I recommend vetting reliability on something like that. Because like the Canic MC9 it honestly kind of spooked me. I always thought if you put 500 rounds through a gun, you were fine. And then that crapped on me at just over 700. And then I'm like, oh man, I guess I need to do 1,000 round reviews now, because if this thing went at 700, then what else is there?
I think it's a crapshoot on all that stuff, honestly. Because I mean, realistically, like my view of the world is that like if it is trouble free past 200 rounds, it's probably fine until about 5,000 or 10,000 rounds, because that's when major components have to get swapped.
Yeah.
So If I care about a gun, then I'll shoot it a lot. If I don't care about a gun, I'll shoot a 500 round or two.
But yeah, no, it's like it's hedging your bets. Like, because if it does make it to 500, I think the MC9 is the only time I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
But my brain is just like, this is a thing now. Like, now you have to watch for this.
No, I can appreciate that. The open gun that crapped out on me, I shot 2,000 rounds through it trouble free, but it's at like 2,200 rounds. That's when it decided to just lay down. And then it was nothing but problems from about 2,000 to 3,000. I fixed it, and then I shot another 1,000 rounds before nationals. Like, all right, it's fixed. It's going to be awesome. And then it broke at nationals twice. Okay. And I was like, Murphy's
rearing his head.
Yeah, no, like I shot open guns for 3 years, never really had a problem. And then in the course of 2 weeks, just everything that could go wrong went, well, not everything. It was the same issue twice, but like in theory, it was fixed both times, and then both times it wasn't. So
yeah. Kenji coming in with a $75 super chat.
Holy cow, that's very generous. Kenji's the man.
No, Kenji is the man. Kenji's always here, and all he wanted was to wave. So Kenji, always appreciate the support of the channel, man. You are like the GOAT of chat. We will crown you.
I appreciate you on Brett's behalf.
Yeah, that's how big of a deal it is. So everybody do a clapping emoji in chat. Kenji. Yeah, everyone wave to Kenji and how awesome he is. But no, I chat with Kenji. He's one of my favorite subscribers, just all around great dude and knowledgeable dude too. So thank you, Kenji. Really appreciate you, man. Let's see here. Oh, right, we were going through guns. What about the Walther? What about the Walther PDP? How do you feel about that?
It's really flippy, but insanely well made. Like the Walther guns are in a class by themselves for their price point. The mechanics of their slides being super duper light make them very violent shooting, except for the PDPF, which is a hidden gem. And the steel frame guns are legit. Like they're way better than the Canic equivalent, just from a quality perspective.
Yeah.
And the Canics mostly work on the steel frames, mostly.
Yeah. So with the PDP, you're right, it's flippy, but the return to zero is like
brilliant. The grip, it's great.
If you don't mind riding the Lightning, that thing will absolutely shred. And of course, they have the aftermarket, 15-pound springs, long stroke guide rods, all that kind of stuff that will help even it out even more. But
the slides are fat for carry. I will say that they have very thick guns.
Yep, that's and it's kind of similar to the Staccato HD, right? Like for me, I'm looking at that and I'm like, this is a little on the thick side. This 100% belongs in a duty holster.
When we come back around, I had a thought to share with you on the HD, but continue the lightning round.
Oh, no, hit me with the HD right now. I want to hear it.
So did you get beat up in the web of your hand by your manual safety?
No, I didn't. And I was one of the few. But what was happening to me is it was pinching me, but my wife was getting destroyed by the safety.
I realized why that is, because they made this, like, when I was watching your video, like the slide's thicker, and it like never occurred to me that for the RMR to sit on the slide natively like it does, you'd have to have a wider slide. I'm like, the slide is wider. And then I looked at the beaver tail, like the beaver tail is wider. And so like how you hold a 1911 is like shaking a hand, basically. Like it fits in this part of your hand like wonderfully. With the Staccato, you have to take kind of like that Glock sort of like weird, I don't really want to touch you with my thumb handshake. And as a result, it opens up your hand, and like this little webbing is hitting that safety thing. So as a factor of the fact they decided to use the RMR footprint, which, guys, I know you all love the RMR, it's a trash footprint for a pistol. Like it is the worst because almost none of the slides can take it on pistols. Like it was a rifle optic that we retrofit onto pistols because it was the best thing available in the year 2015. There are better options now. Yes, they make good optics and they're US made. I get that, but that screw pattern sucks and we should probably stop doing that.
Yeah. Like I think we're seeing the industry start to realize that and shift, but it needs to happen. But yeah, for some reason, I must just be the shape of my hand. Like I think I just have like a wide section right here.
Yeah.
That it was not hitting me. But like I said, my wife was like, she couldn't even shoot the gun. She had to
move. Well, your hand proportionality is a lot different from mine. Like if you look at the gap between the base of your pointer and your thumb versus mine, you got a way longer gap there. And
exactly. So like, but I'm one of the few, almost everyone I've talked to had that issue where it was beating them up to the point where I heard a rumor that Staccato is very aware of it and will soon be rectifying it. And again, just a rumor, but I also heard that after they rectify it, they'll be working on a case-by-case basis where if you have an issue you can set it in and they'll reblend it. I just don't think that they want to blast that out there because they don't want a million people sending their HDs back to get blended.
That's a very expensive, like gunsmiths are not cheap.
Yeah.
And they've got to like taking off manual safeties on a gun for the first time is a bear.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like easy to do either. So
yeah, but at the same time, you drop that much money on something, it better not be like that. We got Croak. HD should have taken a page from Bul's book and just widened the slide a bit where the RMR screws go. The Platypus did a similar thing too, where just right there at the top, they brought it out a little bit.
Have you seen how Infinity tackles that?
No.
So are gun parts cool or not cool? What do you think?
I think that they're as long as it's not like a full like slide assembly or a frame, it should be fine.
Not a full slide assembly?
Yeah, just flash it up there for a couple seconds.
So what Platypus does is they make the whole back of the slide wider down to the bottom of the slide. What Infinity does is they make it wider and then return it to the same thickness. And it's kind of like what Bul does, although Bul is even slenderer than that, where, you know, they only bump out where the screw goes, which I think is a better solution. Like, it takes probably more machining time to do it the Bul way, but at the same time, either one of those solutions are probably the best in class for figuring out how to put an RMR on a proper width slide.
I mean, you're familiar with the Bul guys. You know that the Bul way is usually the right way. Like the gunsmiths over there are so talented, so experienced, like a lifetime of knowledge.
All of the open guns are made by one gunsmith. His name's Mickey, and he's the one who makes all of them.
Yeah,
so,
I met him, and just it's one of those things you just kind of get that aura from him. That
where'd you meet him? I never met him.
Shot.
He was a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I met the other gunsmith he had with him. It wasn't Mickey. It was the younger guy. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure he was there. But yeah, because like I saw a lot of the stuff that they had worked on and never really like moved forward with.
Yeah. Ben will send me those pictures sometimes, and he's like,
exactly. And it's just like the stuff that they're working on. Like, no wonder they're putting out the best stuff because they just kind of have the most creative and experienced minds over there. And I think that really sets them apart.
Wait, hold on. Was the gunsmith you met, was he South African who moved to Israel? Was that him?
I don't think I never heard that. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I met the guy from South. I don't remember his name. It's a very Israeli sounding.
I know that's the problem, right? It's what when you don't live there and you're not familiar with the culture, it can be like it's trying to remember like Japanese names, but you're like
right. Yeah. You just know the ones that you see in the animes, and the other ones you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was an option.
Exactly. Like everyone knows Suzuki and Mitsubishi, but all right, back to the lightning round. The HK VP9.
VP9, it was good for its time, and I haven't messed with the refresh gun, so I don't know kind of where it is. The trigger reset is long and has a false reset, and I have an issue with that because when I've tried to shoot those in anger, I have short stroked those triggers. So otherwise, I think they're brilliant guns. Yeah,
they do a lot right. It's just that, you know, kind of like a day late and $1 short, especially with the refresh. It's like the trigger's a little better and we knocked off the finger grooves, and it's like neat.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Echelon?
I like the Echelon a lot. I think it's one of the better striker fire guns going, and nobody wants to believe me when I say that, but I really do think it's one of the better striker fire guns. Yeah, if only they had Staccato's marketing budget. I think the problem is I don't know where to grip it because they don't have grip zone on the side anymore. So. I know, because you're looking at this and you're like, you get used to one thing, right? It's you know, it's like you see exit signs, you know, there's an exit there. You see grip zone, you know, that's where you're supposed to grip. I get that Echelon, and I have a brain freeze. And I need to think about it for a second. Yeah, it's a brain teaser for sure. Yeah, it's basically like Sudoku the gun. How do you feel about shadow systems? So I've had great luck with them, but I know that a lot of people haven't, and so like it's one of those ones like they've worked for me. Yeah, I think my thing is I know too many people that they haven't worked for to be comfortable like just blindly recommending it, because I've had a couple over the years. The first one I reviewed was the CR920, and that had a slide stop that was out of spec. And when I reached out to them, they're like, "No, just adjust your grip. Your grip is the problem." And I was like, "I'm pretty sure it's not." And so yeah, that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And then I shot a buddy's. Oh god, I need to remember the name of all of these. The DR920P, the big compensated gun. That's basically like a Glock 34. That was on the struggle bus. So those ones came with 2 springs, and they always come with the heavier spring in them, and that spring sucks.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I saw they acquired or included 2 springs, I was like, okay, the light spring's the one to use because this is a compensated gun.
Yep.
Sure enough, that is correct. And I've had great luck with all of mine. Only one of the guns struggled a little bit to break in, took like 75 rounds before it became 100% reliable. But I carried an MR920P in 2020 for probably over a year. It was great. It's laser beam accurate. Their barrels truly are more accurate than a Glock barrel.
Yeah.
Their triggers are, I mean, they're cleaner than a Glock trigger, but they're not like a lot nicer. Like, they're a lot cleaner, but that's it.
A subscriber sent a picture to me of his, I forget which comp Shadow Systems it was, but the like crown, the muzzle end of the barrel disintegrated.
Interesting.
It just like was chipping away and completely coming apart. And Shadow Systems took care of it, but they refused to tell him what the problem was. So he's like lost all confidence in it because he's like, I don't even know what caused this. Like, how do I know it's not going to happen again? So when I saw that, I was like, oh man, is that like a 3D printed barrel?
One thing with these companies is like heat treat can fail. Like, they can make the guns too hot and they can quench them wrong. Like they can do it wrong. Like, I had I'll just say the name. The early Live Free Armory guns, with the slide stop that broke, they were OEMing those parts with EGW, who makes extremely high-end parts. The slide stop that broke was an EGW slide stop. So a name that I would recommend to everybody to upgrade the internals of a gun with had bad heat treat on a part, and it happens. And the problem is, like, when you manufacture, it's like I can't remember what it's called, but there's a phenomenon, like, the more of, like, if a small batch guy, like if you bought a Fowler and it had an issue, or an Infinity and it had an issue, and you're like, well, it's a handcrafted thing, of course it's going to have an issue.
Yeah.
But you get somebody like SIG or Shadow who's manufacturing at scale, there's less tolerance for the fact that, like, parts can fail. Like, people who aren't making 100% of their parts can get a bad batch of parts, and they're not going to know until, like, yeah, it test fired 8 rounds at the factory. Beautiful. That's not enough to really figure out if everything's in spec, and there's not really a good way to do it that doesn't cost all the money. So, I mean, it's a thing for guns that are produced at scale. It's a thing for guns that aren't. So, I mean, guns
to me,
have problems.
That's the only reason I think Glock is kind of okay, even though they refuse to update features. They refuse. I don't like the term innovate, I think, is overused. It's because I think they have the best consistency in quality. Like, they get bad batches of parts, like, maybe every once in a while a bad ejector, but I think out of the box, it is most likely to not have problems out of anything else.
Do you see these gray beard hairs?
Oh yeah.
I'm going to take you on the Wayback Machine here. The Glock Gen 4s were called Glock nades because the 40 calibers literally would explode. Glock is not blameless or perfect in their track record. They had hideous problems with the early Gen 4s, with the guns exploding, and the mounting weapon mounted lights on the way that their guns, their frames were designed, was causing issues because they had unsupported chambers. They quietly went to a fully supported chamber, and like, they've had issues too. They're just really good at doing. I will say this, because a coworker had this happen. He bought a new 6-hour X macro, and it was with factory ammo, and in the first magazine, after 14 rounds, the gun exploded.
Whoa.
And they were going to replace his gun. Like, okay, fine, we'll replace your gun. You have to sign this NDA.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, we're
That's
NDA
sketchy.
for warranty stuff now.
Man, hitting whole new heights. That is super sketch. But I can't think of a single firearm manufacturer that, like, hasn't ever had a problem. So
yeah, everybody is, if they haven't yet, they probably will. So, I mean, there is a measure of grace you have to apply. Like, these are mechanical things, and it takes a lot of parts working exactly like they're designed. And if one of them's off, it can cause, like, I recently learned just how important a guide rod is on a 19-2011, which is a stupid thing that I never would have considered as being a problem child, but they absolutely can be. And a lot of issues can be based around the guide rod and how it fits in the little, reverse plug, and how that fits in the frame. So, like, every part matters, even something as stupid as a guide rod, to make these things work. So, it is what it is.
To cap off the lightning round, if you could only own one striker fire pistol for the rest of your life, it's the only pistol that you could own, Which one would you pick? Had to be striker,
Man.
and you could only own one.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's a tough question.
Like, if you say just the one pistol period, it's a tough one because, like, I like big guns for competition shooting and I like light guns to carry, but I don't want to shoot a light gun.
Oh,
in
we're
competitions.
going by Israel rules here, where you can literally only
Israel
have one
rules.
pistol.
You literally only get one.
Yep.
Oh boy. Striker. It has to be a striker.
Has to be striker, otherwise it'd be too easy.
Golly, you're right. It would be. I honestly would say probably a PPQ, probably a Q, the PPQ 4F. That gun would
That's a
probably
nice
be
one.
the one.
Yeah, that'd be a good do everything gun, and it would perform.
PDPF, sorry, PDPF 4H.
Yeah, I think that's a good do everything. I think you do everything with that one. I'm inclined to say a Glock 19 just because it is the easiest gun to repair. Basically, you watch a YouTube video one time and you're a Glock armorer.
You're an armorer now. Yeah, if you have a Dremel, you become a gunsmith. It's amazing.
but removing that, I would probably just go with an M&P with the Apex trigger, just because the Apex trigger is like the closest thing to a 2011 trigger in the striker arena. I don't know.
My problem with it, like, I love shooting the M&P grips, but I don't love carrying the M&P grips because those things do chew you up.
A little bit of sandpaper, just take it down.
Yeah. Like, I would have to put some of the tape on those grips if I were carrying.
Yeah, just hockey tape it.
Yeah.
Mario again. What's up, Mario? Thanks for the super chat, man. Debating between Kimber KD-S9C and Bul EDC Pro. Thoughts? I have not run the KD-S9C, so I think you're going to be able to speak on that better than me.
Well, I've not run the EDC Pro, so
we're going to put our two. You know what?
With our powers combined, we are Captain Planet.
With our powers combined, I think we can equal the intelligence of a single Redditor. So we might actually be able to get this done.
I think the KD-S9C is an aluminum frame gun, and so it likes to jump. The Bul is an aluminum frame gun with speed holes in the barrel. I just took my shoes off, and
it's like, what's going on down there?
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, it's got speed holes in the barrel, so that helps its aluminum frameness. And the KDS is a great gun. I really do like it. I got one of, like, they've released, like, the grips are cheap. They're like $50, and they released they call them aggressive, but they're really like a nice medium texture. And that really tamed how jumpy that gun is. It's well made. Like, the Kimbers get a bad rap for kind of who Kimber used to be. But I've looked at it last year. I looked at a lot of Kimber guns, and they all are fine. I never had an issue with any of them. And the KDS the KDS-9C, the threaded barrel one, whatever they call that, that one I got well over 1,000 rounds on, probably closer to 2, and it never had an issue. But the Bul Armory guns are also insanely nice guns. So I think I think the grip format on the KD-S9C is probably a little bit nicer than the grip. Like, it's a little bit more contoured. It's got a rounded heel and all that kind of stuff. So it's tough, man. I would pick the one that you think looks the prettiest and maybe go that way.
That's always the real answer. Like, if you're excited about the gun, you'll shoot it. And I think that's the good thing. Now, my answer, I would just like full blown EDC Pro, like no F's given. Let's go. Because I carry that with the compact grip module on it. That thing just absolutely shreds. And I mean, you hit the nail on the head with the aluminum frame. It takes, like, again, it's a 9mm. So how much is it really? Yeah. But it does take a little bit of the bite out of there. And that thing is just, it's a beast. It's an absolute machine.
I can't say enough nice things about the Bul guns or the new Kimber guns. They're both great.
Oh, I haven't had, because I've run the carbon compact. I'm sure you can imagine that Kimber's naming conventions really irritate me. But the carbon compact, I'm editing my 2K11 review right now, and the CD S9, they've all been solid. So I think
CDS9 is an awesome gun. If the problem with the CDS9 is nobody worth a damn makes holsters for it.
That's the big problem. Yeah. And I've talked to Kimber about it, and they're like, we get it. The people above us don't necessarily get it. And
I told them the same thing. I was like, hey guys, like, get with one of these 4 holster manufacturers and get them to make you holsters, and then you would have a real, like, contender. And short of that, you won't.
We have the same exact thought process because I literally told them the same exact thing, and it sounded
Probably
like
the same 4 holster manufacturers.
seriously. Probably. Favorite movie, TV show pistol? Question for both of you. What's your favorite pistol that's been featured in a movie or a television show?
The RoboCop gun.
Oh yeah, for sure. 93R that's all RoboCopped up. That is my exact answer too. So literally identical answers. Didn't even have to think about it. Just RoboCop for sure. The 93R is my #1 bucket list gun. They're like, I think a couple transferable ones. They only go for like 6 figures when they're available. So totally doable.
Yeah, easy. No problem.
No problem there. My next shooting improvement objective should be a beard. It makes follow-ups even faster. In all honesty, if I could, I would. I was both cursed and blessed with the baby face.
I'm going to take this one out of you. This is not a dad joke, but I use this one more. There's only 2 kinds of men. There's men with beards and women.
Well, it's nice to make your acquaintance. I purse carry, and it's just fine.
I get it. I know plenty of dudes who can't, so it's a thing. It is a thing.
I will say my legit next shooting improvement objective is I hold tension in my neck. That's the bad habit that I'm trying to break now. It's like I grip with just my hands, everything is good, but for some reason I just like my neck is just every time I'm running a gun fast, so I'm trying to just get that tension out. That's what I'm actually working on right now.
What I noticed in my shooting recently is that I innately want to tilt. You can't see my hands. I want to tilt the gun slightly this way.
Tilt it down here.
And that's not good because your sights aren't aligned with where the gun is actually pointing. So focusing consciously on keeping the gun literally level has been a bit of a game changer for me because it makes the gun recoil more predictably. You can shoot faster and get better accuracy. And it's not like I was exaggerating. It wasn't an extreme tilt. It was just maybe a few degrees, but it was enough to where the gun wasn't moving predictably. When it's straight up and down, perfectly level, it gets super solid dot tracking and the hits stay where I'm looking, which is what we want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with pistols, it does not take much to miss. It does not take much to throw your shot off. Just a little.
The margins are thin.
Margins are thin. It's what makes shooting pistols so difficult. What happened to your XP Pro? Was upset not to see it in your comparison video, although the F1 flute noises made up for it.
I found that video of that F1 song. It was like, oh, this has to happen. I have to figure out how to put this in a video. It's like, oh, I know. But so this happened when I was done shooting. Then I shot that gun a good amount. I have no idea what the round count is. If it's not 1,000 rounds, it's around that mark. And I'd had it out of the safe a handful of times, dry fired the trigger when I was comparing it to other triggers and stuff like that. So Saturday, the night before going to the range, I was getting the guns out, making sure they were oiled and all that stuff and going to work. And I was like, hey, that firing pin is below flush on the firing pin stop. And I was like, well, it's in order to get the firing pin stop off, you have to take off the optic plate because it was bound on the optic plate because there's a slot in the optic plate for it. So I took the optic plate off, got the firing pin stop off, reseated the firing pin. It looked good. Dry fired the gun and the firing pin got stuck behind the firing pin stop again. I was like, well, that's not good. I fixed it again, thought I had it fixed, tried to put the optic plate back on, sheared a screw, putting it on while I was just hand tightening it. And so that sucks. And then the firing pin stopped when I tried firing it again. It's ate the firing pin. So I was just like,
why?
And so that's why the Glock 17 came to the range that day.
Oh man, that's wild. But thanks for the super chat.
So they say that they've revised how those all go together on the gun, so the new guns won't have that issue. Because I mean, mine was one of the first ones. It was a media gun sent out, when the first batch came in. So there's a good chance the late production guns already have it fixed.
Yeah, I'm getting one I think next week, so be interested to see how that goes.
I won't color your experience with it, but I bet I know what you'll say about it. We'll trade notes after you shoot it.
Yeah. I always try to go in blind to these things.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I just think that's the best way to do it. All right, Best Kool-Aid. Appreciate the super chat, man. First super chat. Well, congratulations. Thank you. I carry an M18 320 with a Romeo X RDS and TLR 7A. should that be okay to start doing some competitions with?
1,000%, yes. As long as it's a full length grip, that's really, and I say you can carry you can compete with a compact grip, but like when you're trying to go real fast on mag changes, that's when you'll pinch your hand on that. So an M18 has a full size grip, so you are good to go, sir. Um, you're shooting a lightweight gun, but you're offsetting that with a TLR7, so that helps a little bit. You're fine. I mean, dudes are shredding with super light guns and it's not a problem. And so if you're used to how it shoots, you're going to be like, realistically, it's going to take you a year and a half to where you outgrow that gun, like to the point where your skill develops to the point where you are leaving potential points on the table by having a different gun. It will take at least a year before you hammer out all of the other stuff you're wasting time on.
That's really solid advice. So yeah, there you go. Best Kool-Aid. Have at it. No excuses. Get out there.
That's right. I'll see you next weekend.
What are your thoughts on the Alpha Foxtrot Romulus versus Bul Armory? I love the slide release on the Romulus since I shoot IDPA. Have you messed with the Romulus at all?
Not in a series. I've handled them at 2 shows now, but I've never actually shot one. So I don't know.
That's where I'm at too. I'm hoping to get one.
Yeah, we're probably having the exact same conversations. Would be my guess.
Okay, I think that's something else that we need to address. Is it true that you and I are in cahoots nonstop and there are constantly embargoes, and that is why we drop videos at the same time?
We actually, yes, that's what we do. We like to hold hands virtually and release videos at the same time. But yeah, usually it's embargo driven. Like that's really what it comes down to. If a company really wants to send out a bunch of guns to media personalities, then that usually comes with a piece of paper that says, I won't tell anybody about this until you tell me it's okay. And so they all come out on the same day and flood your timeline and you get tired of it. So
the crazy thing for me is I have never dealt with an embargo.
Really?
I've never dealt with an embargo. Like I'm still pretty young on YouTube. And like a lot of the stuff that I've done, I've just like acquired the guns myself, and it just like I'll get it and put it out as fast as I can, and it just so happens that like that's right around
roughly when the embargo,
unless it's something like Springfield where the embargo is up before it even hits shelves or like the day it hits shelves. But I've actually never dealt with an embargo. Anytime that I've matched up has just purely been a coincidence.
I mean, so just pulling back the curtain for our lovely audience there's a phenomenon in YouTube called trend jacking, where there is a thing that trends. So if there is a new firearm and you do firearm videos, then that's the trend and you want to be on trend. So like we both ran out and got HDP4s as soon as we could get them and got the videos up as soon as we could, which happened to be, I think, the same weekend.
Yep, same time.
And yeah, that's just the reality of getting the guns in hand. And that's kind of what it was. So, I mean, if you're serious and want to try and offset the cost of buying an expensive pistol and make any money on the views, then you have to get in early because everybody learns everything about it and then the thing's not popular anymore. So
that's exactly right. Then you might as well do a video on a vintage Smith & Wesson revolver because you'd have a better chance of that getting views than like the new hotness 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the new CSXE series? The improvements seem not quite what people hoped for. How do you feel about this?
I think he said everything that there is to say about it. Because
just same thing.
The Kimber KDS-9C copied Smith's homework and did better. Or not KDS, the CDS. That gun, like when it came out, where it needed to be positioned in the market for what it was trying to be, like it's using the tactical black and the really aggressive grip. So you're thinking, okay, this is for people who like hammer fired guns and are, performance shooting dudes. It's like, but we're going to put a really bad trigger on it and no optic. Like, okay. It's whoever's doing the products for Smith just doesn't really know. Like, I feel like they never open social media to see what like people are into. And they're just like, you know what? I had a thought. Let's just do this. And like, oh, sounds good. Let's do it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I basically, any Smith that I get, I will get the bare bones one and then send it out for everything that I actually want done to it. Like there's never been one. Like I had hope for the carry comp because I'm like, okay, maybe they're paying attention, but really they were just like, I don't know, poke a hole in the barrel. And that's what's cool now.
Well, I lost my question. I had a question for you. It's gone now. It'll come back.
Once I start talking about something completely unrelated and it's horrible timing, it'll hit you. And then,
and then I'll interrupt you and be like, hey, what's your favorite color?
Hey kid, Hey, you, stop in the name of the law. If you're looking to tinker with a 2011, is it really worth going with a Prodigy over a TSOS?
You go first on this one.
I just think it genuinely depends on your budget. I would go with the Prodigy because I think there's less stuff to change on the Prodigy. Like the grip texture is better on the Prodigy. Like with the TSOS, I would want to get it stippled, which would require sending out your grip, which requires, taking it apart, which you may not be comfortable doing. The Prodigy EGW ignition kit, and you're going to be in pretty solid shape. Honestly, I don't think there's any bad choice between the two, but I like the Prodigy as an out-of-the-box gun more than the TSOS, even if the TSOS has forged parts and that kind of stuff. Just because the TSOS that I ran, the cheaper one, the B9R or whatever, I think is great for dipping your toe in the water. You can get those on sale for like $5. I think it's a good toe dipper. But the Mac 9 DS versus the Prodigy, personally, I would go with the Prodigy. How do you feel?
100% what you said, and I'll expand on it. TSOS, I think those are all bushing barrel guns, yes?
The Mac isn't, but the cheaper TSOS
Yeah, the two TSOS ones are.
Yeah.
I think with a lightweight gun like that, you get a lot of juice for having a bull barrel, specifically on the commander size guns. On the 5-inch guns, it's not as important, but it's still a nice feature to have. They're both RMSC cut native slides, which means you don't get full size optics, which greatly reduces your, like, if you're getting a gun to tinker with, odds are you want to put an optic on it, and it's probably not an RMSC footprint optic. So that limits that. The grip on the Prodigy is honestly one of the best polymer grips that comes on guns. Like, it's fantastic. It doesn't tear you up to carry. And when you squeeze it, it doesn't move in your hands. Like, it is the perfect Goldilocks grip. And the other thing is MIM parts will break eventually.
Yep.
Eventually. Most people aren't going to shoot the guns to the point that I have shot a lot of 2011s up to high round counts, and I've broken one MIM part, and it was a manual safety, and it was the ambi side. And guess what? Tool steel safety's breaking that exact same way on that side. Like the MIM parts that they're making now are now oversized, then precision ground down to spec. So the whole thing, like, they just don't, like, the Springfield doesn't do as good a job on it as some of the other builders, but it's still good enough. And I mean, I agree. I think the Prodigy, the only thing I hate about the Prodigy is its Cerakote. Cerakote is kind of it was, 2000 and late weapons finish. But, if it was nitride or if it was anything but Cerakote, it would be, a real contender. But the Mac, the Mac, its grip is so slippery. Like, that was one of the first, like, I just started subscribed to your channel around the same time that gun came out.
Yeah.
And I was mystified because, like, our videos synced up on all of the nitpicks on that gun.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah. Like almost everything.
Yeah. So it's not the spec on those pistols isn't to what an enthusiast would want. It's what somebody who has a budget and is mindful of it would want. But if you get honest when you go shoot it, and boy, this sure moves around a lot in my hands, I sure would like more texture. Like, that's probably going to be your first thought.
Yeah. And it's not like, for tinkerers, it's not a big deal but for most people, taking apart a 2011 they're going to bring a box of parts to a gunsmith. Cause you can watch.
They'll never get the leaf spring set correctly behind the mainspring housing.
Exactly. And, obviously, like taking off thumb safety, stuff like that. It's for a first timer, it can be really frustrating. And getting a grip stippled is, obviously you have to send it out there lead times. That sucks. If you could just start with the Prodigy's grip texture, it's kind of, you're cutting the line.
I would say if you can get a laser cut, like silicon carbide, there it is.
Silicon carbide, yeah.
You can get those laser grips cut for the gun, and you can borrow your wife's hair dryer or use a heat gun and do it properly. Those have come a long way since the early days of decal grips, and like, that's the easiest way. Like, my Glock 17 in the safer there, because that Noise Fighters thing came with a decal grip. Yeah, it makes a huge difference in that gun, and it's kind of changed my view of the world. If a gun is slippery, I'm just going to put one of those decal grips on it and use a heat gun and call it good.
Yeah, there are solutions out there. So again, go with whichever one you think is cooler and you'll shoot it. All right, Gumo, I carry an HK USP 45 appendix with a JM custom Kydex holster. What's the largest gun y'all carry? Thanks for all the great content. Well, for me, it's the Desert Eagle. I have an appendix holster for that, and I will carry that. It's the Battle Gnome.
Eagle.
Yeah, it's the Battle Gnome Solutions appendix carry holster, and that thing is wild. It's like
I would not carry it simply because it's 4 pounds, and you're not old enough to get back pain yet. But that if you want back pain, that's how you get back pain.
I'm getting ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Oh man, the biggest gun I carry is probably a 5-inch 2011, and I don't do that all that often. Like I want a gun that's big enough to have a full size grip on, and around 30 ounces. Like that's kind of what I want. And the P229 from 6 Hours, honestly, a fantastic carry gun, a really great option. I like that one a lot. But I've been carrying, because I've been shooting a lot of 2011s. I'm trying to make myself only touch 2011. So I started carrying my ultralight just because it has the same grip module as the gun I'm competing with for the first, chunk of the year with. So, but yeah, 5-inch gun that weighs probably, I guess, 34 or 35 ounces is about as much as I'll go.
Yeah, I carried the Staccato XC for over a year. I was really with an X300. I was really committed to that.
Oh gosh.
But then
that's 40 ounces right there.
Oh yeah, no, it was wild. I mean, that Core Essentials belt, man, that really came in clutch for me. But once the Bul Armory EDC Pro came out, I started carrying that with the
I've got a Core Essentials belt on right now.
Yeah, oh yeah,
we're the same person.
I'm telling you, and we're even wearing like the same like kind of shirt. Like, what is happening?
We're both wearing gray shirts. Here we go.
I just need to undo another button. All right, Todd. What's the best
dollar here for the dudes there?
Hey, what's the best dry fire practice you recommend to improve for USPSA events? As I move faster, I tend to get more C's, D's, or no shoot mics new to competition. So what do you recommend for dry fire practice?
So if you're not getting A's, then what you are doing is not looking at the center of the target. It's probably not a mechanical issue with you pulling the trigger, because if you can slow fire and shoot roughly palm-sized groups at 25 yards, you have all the skill you need to make any shot the sport's going to require. And if you're getting C's and D's, like there's two things at play. Number one, I would check your vision and make sure like when people say follow through, it's a stupid nebulous term that doesn't make sense. When I use it in practical shooting, what I'm talking about is actually keeping your eyes on the target to watch the gun lift twice where you're looking at, and that the dot is relatively close to what you're looking at. That's number one. Number two is you're probably standing up too tall. If you aren't sunk down low enough to the point your quads are burning to act, so that means your legs are acting as good shock absorbers, then you are too tall. And the problem with that is every time you have a foot strike, that dot is going to go like this. And if you get real low and don't try to move quite as fast if you're shooting on the move, then, really lean into, like, the way I think about coming into a position is I think about sitting down on my heels is what I think about. And that it gets me low enough to the point, and I'm not really sitting on my heels. If you watch me, I still look pretty erect, but but that does clean up my sights coming into a position so that I can get aggressive on the trigger. But just get hungry to see your sights on target. Like really just like aggressively try and see that dot on the target bounce twice is what you're trying to do.
Yeah, target focused. And like a lot of people, target focus is easier explained than done. It's really easy for your eyes to wander, even for just a moment, even just like a twitch wander. And you're going to shoot where you're going to look. It's usually a vision thing.
If you're seeing the outer edges of the target, if you're just registering the shape of the target and not the center of the zone you're aiming at, then you're going to get a lot of like C's and D's, because that's a good enough sight picture based on what you're requiring from your vision. Like you have to see, like when I do walkthroughs for a stage, I'll look at the clumps of pasters on the target of where I want to hold the dot. And I will make myself see those when I'm trying to shoot. And if I can see the thing that I want to see, then usually good things happen.
Yeah. It just requires, the more you practice, the easier it gets, but it requires some pretty intense focus, especially when you're learning to just be laser focused on a spot instead of just like the whole target, just on the actual spot.
And if you're missing a lot of steel, that's why. You're not looking at the center of the steel. You're looking at the shape of the steel.
Yep. So dry fire practice that dry, looking at that specific little point.
And you can put a little dot on a dry fire target as like a trainer to look to the center of what you're trying to look at.
So you just stole that from Ben Steger.
I hate to tell you this, but like all this knowledge is passed around, although he has authored a good bit of it, that probably didn't come from him.
But he also thinks that you're annoying. So,
Well, that's fair. I understand.
Is it hard hitting question? Is it true? Why are you annoying? Why are you gay? So Extreme has a super chat, but he also said definitely a shadow ban going on. This is the second live stream I had notifications turned on for and didn't get a notification. 100%. And also, what are those gold shooting glasses you wear in your vids? Those are Pit Vipers. And David,
well, he's talking about the Hunter's HD Golds. So I have another fancy pair that they do improve the contrast. Like if you are a neckbeard with way too much disposable income, then those things are, I would say, a slight performance edge over most lenses. For casual matches, I just wear the Pit Vipers. But if I really care about what I'm doing, I'll wear the Hunters.
Yeah, I like the Pitties because they have the RX inserts. I can put my prescription in the actual nose piece, and they look fly AF and get me all the babes. So
that's what you're looking for as a married man. I understand.
Oh yeah, all the time. Only anime girls though. So there's his
your waifu pillows love it.
Oh yeah, just got them stacked all over the bed. The wife loves it. So talk about the competition you shot with the 50 Action Express. Just touch on that a little bit.
That was fun. I'm going to do it again this year because it's so fun. Because limited 10 in USPSA now allows the use of red dots. So I'm going to take a poll with my subscriber base to figure out which dot I should mount on the 50 to see if it'll survive the match, and do it again. But it was hilarious. It's not an easy gun to reload because they don't have big mag wells. They don't have a lot of capacity in the magazine, so you have to reload them a lot, which is not a good not a good combination to be competitive at a pistol match based around high capacity guns. And it was hilarious, and like it turned a lot of heads because it sounds like a cannon. Like if you've never been around on a range with a 50 going off, you don't realize just how awesome that gun noise is because it is the best gun noise. It is so cool. And everybody was just coming and laughing. And like my ROs were covering up his ears behind me as he held the clock because like it's not so bad when you're behind the gun, but if you're slightly offset, then it's very loud. And it was just great.
You can hear it from the other side of the range, just going douche, 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 douche.
Yeah, only 7 times before. Yeah, right. But what was hilarious was the steel targets because like everybody's shooting in the big full size poppers with a 9, and they're just like thinking about falling over and slowly go down. It's like with the 50, it's just like wham. It was just that was the best part was shooting the steel.
The dirt nap for the poppers.
That's right.
Jose had a super chat and he said, "Finally got my income. LOL getting Ed Brown M&P finally, but I would like to ask Monsoon from Saturday. Any suggestions from him or you two? Still like you, Humble, talking smack about HD M&P again. LOL. I mean, so you're asking about Monsoon Tactical? Yeah, get that sucker ported. Lucky Sevens is the safe bet. I don't know what the barrel length is on that, but Lucky Sevens is always the safe bet for Monsoon. Have you ever played with Monsoon Tactical's ported guns?
I've handled them, but I've never shot them. Oh no, I did. If are you familiar with Calvin with 2 eyes on Instagram?
No.
He's a local restaurateur who has the nicest gun collection of anyone you've ever met.
Oh, very nice.
And one day on the range, he had I think it was a Prodigy that had the Monsoon setup, and it actually shot really well. It was a very good setup.
Yeah, no, Vinny does great work for sure. Best Kool-Aid is back to the M18. I have the Wilson Combat Grip Module, and it has slots for tungsten rods. Is that worth doing?
I would play with it. Honestly, it comes down to like what that will do is it'll change the balance of the gun. You've got a weapon mounted light. So right now your gun is muzzle heavy, which means it's going to flop below your point of aim when the slide closes. If you put tungsten rods in the grip, it'll counteract that some. So it doesn't flop as much down. It will be heavier. Personally, I think that around, 37 to 44 ounces is kind of the sweet spot for a performance shooting handgun. And having a good balance that is very slightly muzzle heavy, because when you put a loaded, magazine in the rear, it will balance out. Like you want a balanced gun that just doesn't dip a lot. That's what you want. So play with them, see if you like them. If you don't like them, don't use them.
Yeah, no reason not to test them. I mean, that's unfortunately a big part of this space is trial and error that can get to be pretty expensive. It's why everyone has an entire drawer of holsters. That's pretty light. Is having too many holsters. Oh yeah,
I've got probably 40 sitting in this drawer next to me.
Same, 100%. Let's see here. I saw someone else mentioned. Right here. Question for you. Love your versus vids with like 5 guns. Any more of those coming up?
Not, I mean, that format is open when there's like an open question, like a new person kind of enters the ring or whatever. So how does it really stack up against kind of all of its close competitors? So, I mean, the closest to that was going to be the Staccato HD P4, but what I'm hopeful is going to happen is I might be doing like 2,000 round burn downs, like just go spend an hour in the range with 2,000 rounds of ammo and see what happens. So some of those should be coming soon, but it's all going to be my own reloads because I'm not spending that factory money to get that done.
Not going to be running the Buffalo Creek with the thing on screen to help you out.
Yeah, right. No, that's Buffalo Creek is a generous supporter of the channel. However, 2,000 rounds in the video is still, that's a lot of rounds.
Yep. And so Trey's coming in to say the new TSOS DS has a bull barrel, but kept RMSC optic footprint. So yeah, the Gen 2 is going to have a bull barrel then.
Good. That's good.
That is really good. They're listening. How long do you want to go for? I don't want to keep you here too long.
I'll do another 15 minutes. I didn't realize it was getting so late.
Very good. Well, I want to get an idea. You mentioned the RoboCop gun as being like your favorite on-screen pistol. What are a couple of your favorite movies?
Ooh. I'm not a huge movie guy who like revisits movies that he watches. So like when you ask me this question, it's like, what have I seen recently?
Yeah.
And so I'm reliving my glory days, not my glory days, when I was a kid, like the TNT movies that were awesome. So I've been showing my 2 older boys some of the greatness that was 80 movies. So we've been watching. We got on an Arnold kick for a minute. So
yeah,
we watched The Running Man the other weekend.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. I showed him Conan, or was it Conan? No. Yeah, it was Conan. I showed him the original Conan movie. What are the other ones? I like a lot of those like 80s, like over the top kind of videos. Next on the list is Rambo. We watched Rambo. Beverly Hills Cop, and that still holds up.
That to this day, that's one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah. Eddie Murphy's laughing. That movie's terrible, but the movie's great.
And, the shootout at the end is legit too. Like it is comedy and action. They delivered on all fronts.
I just like how nobody used sights in the 80s. It was just like hip firing everything, just spraying everything to get. It's fantastic.
No, it's point shooting. It's point shooting.
Yeah, bud. It is great. We watched Terminator recently too, and Terminator is still incredible. Like that, despite at the end when like the skeleton and the bad animation, but they're probably a little bit too young to show them Predator yet, but that I can't wait to revisit Predator.
Oh man. Yep. Gonna be counting the minutes down to when you can watch Predator again.
Yeah. Predator's a fantastic movie. I like Predator, and Aliens is really good too. I like Aliens, even though, cause it's more of a shooting movie than it is a horror movie, but
yeah. The sound of those pulse rifles, man. That was peak. That was peak guns and movies right there.
So those are fun. Those are good
have you gotten to Commando?
Oh yeah, we watched Commando actually. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I was like, you didn't get through all those and not watch Commando.
I'll give you an Instagram account to follow since you're clearly an Arnold connoisseur as well. Oh yeah, it's called Geek Fire Inc. Like INK, and it is a guy who can do a killer Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. And he just does these silly videos with Arnold's voice. He did a song. I can't remember what song it was. I sent it is like my mind at 3 a.m. Some pop song, but sung by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it absolutely hilarious, fantastic.
Do me a favor, don't bother my friend here. He's dead tired.
Remember when I said I would kill you last? I lied.
John Matrix. That's right, Matrix. You did. I lied. Brett loves DPM. Any experience running DPM, David?
Yes, I did a video on it way back in the day, but
years ago. I actually, when I was ordering my first DPM kit, I watched your video.
I think they work. They do what they say they're going to do. My issue is like I go through so many guns, like I don't want to spend $100 on a guide rod for every single gun. Springco also makes a really awesome similar system to that works great. Like that's another really good option if you can't find what you want at DPM. Springco does a really good job too. I think they're great. And if you've got kind of like your forever gun and you just want to, carry it, to the extreme, that's a great thing to look at.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is it's it's like the Pareto principle where, you hit the point where like 80% of your performance is going to be in your hands and 20% is going to be the gun. And you're going to get 1% from a DPM recoil reduction system. So it really is min-maxing the gun. And then of course, picking the right springs for the right ammo. I mean, you can get really nerdy with that stuff. And the question just becomes how much of an impact is it going to make? And that also boils down to skill level, how you grip the gun, all that kind of stuff. Because not everyone's going to need the same power spring for the same power ammo because you're going to be gripping the gun maybe with a different pressure. So you can get really nerdy with that stuff. And then Michael's also saying, David Brett was asking if you're running commando now. Didn't care about the movie. You going commando tonight?
No, I gird my loins for combat, sir.
Well, everything's below the camera, so there's really no way we can know for sure.
It's a mystery.
Have you seen the movie Heat?
Oh yeah, Heat's great. The gunfighting in that's incredible. Oh, yeah. Another one I really like is Tombstone. I would say probably Tombstone would be my favorite movie. Tombstone's fantastic.
Oh yeah, well, that's in my top 10 for sure. I was just fooling about. I wasn't. So good. All right, one final question.
Rico looks like someone stepped on your grave.
Your grave. One final question. I really liked your video talking about kind of like the future of pistols, how things are moving in that like kind of 2011 direction, like a 2011 hybrid gun. After running the HD quite a bit, do you still feel like that's kind of the direction the industry is going to be moving in?
I do think single action guns are like, so who do they design guns for? People with disposable income, really, or contracts. Like,
right.
It's got to be one of those two buckets. And if it's aimed at contracts, it's going to be just a generic Glock clone kind of thing. And I think the civilians aren't going to get too jazzed about that. So I think that the high income guys are excited about single action guns.
Yeah.
So I think that because high income guys, and you know this to be true, it doesn't necessarily, we don't fall into this bucket necessarily, but these kinds of guys don't buy like 2011. They buy like all of them, all of the 2011s. And so like that is basically a bottomless well that you can, extract money from. So I think that there is going to be continuing to figure out how to make that crowd continue to open up their wallets. I'm actually, no, I'll keep this idea to myself. I won't throw it out there yet, but I've got a follow-on video to that, that I'm thinking about. But I think that we're running out of options though. I think that the external extractors are generally going to be a good idea. I think that that's going to become the norm on most of the mass market guns. I think there's not really a good reason to do it at a, high production level. But I think that people are going to keep looking for like whatever the next thing is, like what sucks about a 2011 and what can we make better about it? Like, I think we're going to continue to see that level of kind of refinement to happen as we're trying to get the high income folks to continue to buy all the stuff. So like, as a result, that's going to have knock-ons because the budget guys will emulate that and everybody gets guns that are, more intelligent. So
yep. And
I do think that's what's going to continue to happen.
The fact that just the 1911 design is still, still going, and then the 2011 was made more reliable. And, you look at just everything else, movies, it's all remakes, video games, it's all remakes, everything is all remakes. And I think that every industry is just in the era of remakes right now. And
it seems like everything's from the 80s too, if you think about it.
Yeah, seriously. All right, we're going to wrap up with this final super chat here. Lin came in at the 11th hour with a $20 super chat. Really appreciate that, Lin. Thank you. Hey guys, I started shooting USPSA in January. I've decided to commit to earning an M rank. Please bless me with your thoughts on this journey. I got MU first stage win in my training class over the weekend. Any sage advice?
This is a numbers racket because all the classifiers are not created equal. You will have to shoot a lot of classifiers to rank up in the game if you want to play the game within the game. So like, if I were to try and go out and get a G card, number one, I'd have to train up because I'm not quite there on my gun handling to get a G card. But even if it was there, a G can't shoot a G score on every classifier because some of the scores are stupid. And you do have to connect on the right classifiers, and then you have to learn how to shoot the pace. And then you're just kind of observe it like you are a passenger in watching this movie that goes off in your hands, basically, because you are not processing what is happening. You know what is supposed to happen. Your body will do the thing that is supposed to happen at the pace it's supposed to happen at. And then like your consistency ability to execute at that level will dictate the hits that you get and whether you're going to make it or not. Because it truly is a, can you get the shooting done in the amount of time required to get an M or GM score? And if you can't move that fast, you can't make it. Like you have to be fast as lightning to rank up in the game. And you have to be a lot of the ways people think about it is like, okay, well, this is the floor for what an M score is. And if you can do it in training, guess what? Like in a match, you're not going to get 100% of where you're at in training. If you're lucky, you're getting 95% just because it takes a lot of discipline to stay right at that 99 to 100% line. Like it's easy to go over the line. It's easy to fall well under the line, but you have to learn the pace and you have to commit to it. Like you can't be afraid of shooting misses in a match because that's what it takes. And like you're going to have to math it out. If your match is going to publish what the classifiers are, you need to understand what the pace is to shoot a good score on that classifier, because unless you're, just really highly in tune with what you can do, like you have to learn the pace of it. It's like learning the words to a song before you go try and sing it at karaoke. And a degree of that is required. Like if you do it a lot and you're out shooting every week you're training and every weekend shooting matches, it becomes a lot easier to do because you just kind of get velocitized and that is just how you are. But most people, that's not the way it is. And you have to fight the desire not to have misses, because realistically, M's and GMs have misses all the time. They just see it happen and they make it up really fast. So you have to learn how to call shots. You have to understand the pace. And you have to have a lot of bites at the apple. Like you just have to put yourself out there, go shoot classifier matches, go shoot as many matches as your family will tolerate. And that's kind of how the thing comes together. Or if you truly learn how to shoot and execute at that skill level, you can get match bumps. And that's how I got match bumped into master and open. It was not a classification performance. I still don't shoot many master classifications in open because the bar is set so damn high with those race guns. I got it through major match performance. I shot a bunch of majors in a year and I, came in second or third at a bunch of major match. I won one major match. So that 100% really helped my classification. So it's a commitment and it takes a lot of time and effort, and you have to figure out if that juice is worth the squeeze. Like it's cool. But it's a lot.
If there was a Redditor in here, the one thing that they would take away from that would be, actually, it's pronounced karaoke.
Oh, but there we go.
But what you said, I wish I would have been taking notes. I feel like I needed a notepad. But good info. That's yeah, what he said. And then 2A in LA has all of the 2011s. Agent 2 Down says everybody hit the like button right now because that might make YouTube notify people that this happened. And Chris Miller just want to say,
is he saying hit the like button, or is he saying he likes our button downs?
I think he likes our button downs.
I think that's
and also everyone should hit the hit the like button. But Chris Miller, I see you, dude. I'm glad that you're able to make it. And I've been looking through all your old content to learn as much as I can. Well, there you go. All right, David, I think that this is a good place to wrap it up. I really appreciate your time and your generosity. And what would Ludu says, Brett, it was great to meet your dad.
I'm proud of you, son.
Thanks, Pops. But yeah, definitely. Obviously, if you're not already subscribed to the Humble Marksman, all of you should be, and I would assume all of you are. But definitely give him a subscription. Also check because maybe you were unsubscribed. That's a real thing too.
That is a thing, unfortunately.
Yep. Any final thoughts as we wrap things up?
Don't be so worried about the gear, guys. Just figure out how to shoot it. Like, try to stop thinking about the guns and start thinking about what you're doing to use the guns and how your shooting process is going. Keep challenging yourself to get better and do better. Don't just be satisfied if your target looks like you're patterning buckshot at 7 yards. Like, you can shrink that group down. Really dive into the details of your shooting and get interested in it and figure out what it's going to take for you to get better. And do that. And that's way more rewarding than just stacking up guns in the safe. Although it is easier to just add to cart and pay with a credit card and get a shiny gun. I enjoy that too, but go use the things, guys. Well said. And just to answer this really quick, because nobody's on Rumble and Rumble pays pennies. Your gun space just really isn't there. Rumble is fantastic if you're doing political live streams, and that's about it. Sure. That's where it begins and ends. I know that Mr. Guns and Gear is really pushing hard on Rumble, and I really hope that he can break through. But other than that, like I said, they pay pennies.
and there's just the audience isn't there.
I have never gotten a payout from Rumble. I think I have like 2,000 subscribers. Each video gets like 200 views. It's just like, this is great, guys. We have a great platform over here.
I'm still at 9 cents. I've made 9 cents on Rumble.
I think I'm like, at this point, I think I have $26 stored up in the bank. Yeah.
Big spender.
Yeah, I
You
know.
can almost
One
buy
day,
you can also buy
almost buy my
magazine.
family dinner with 2 years worth of content on there.
Yeah, get some bubble yum at Circle K with that. All right, well, thanks for being here, everyone. David, really appreciate you, man. And we'll see you in our next videos.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.